All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the technology that's powering, well, pretty much the entire AI craze we're seeing everywhere.
I mean, have you ever just stopped and wondered how something like ChatGPT actually works? You type in a question, and boom, you get this answer that's weirdly human. It's creative, it gets the context. So, what's going on under the hood? Is it really thinking?
Well, it's not magic, even though it definitely feels like it sometimes. The real answer is something called a large language model. You've probably heard the acronym LLM, and that's exactly what we're going to break down today. To really get a handle on this, think of an LLM as the engine, or maybe the brains of the operation. It's the part that lets these AI tools talk and write in a way that sounds just like a person.
So, when you're messing around with ChatGPT, you're interacting with what we call generative AI. But the specific piece of that system that understands what you asked for and then, actually generates the words, that's the LLM doing its thing. They're totally linked.
Now, before we jump into the large part of large language model, we need to get the basics down first. Let's talk about a simple language model. And trust me, this is something you're already super familiar with, even if you don't realize it.
So, what is it? A language model is basically a prediction machine. Its entire job is to guess the next word in a sentence. It's all just statistics. It's seen the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy thousands of times, so it knows, with a really high probability, that the next word is probably dog. It's a pattern-matching superstar.
And here's where it clicks. You know when you're texting and your phone suggests the next word for you? That's it. That's a language model right there on your screen. It's seen millions of texts, so when you type "I am going to," it knows that the store or the park are really common next phrases. It's not magic, it's just really, really good at predicting based on all the data it's seen.
Okay, so that's a small language model. Now what happens when you take that basic idea and just make it huge? Like, unbelievably massive. Well, that's when you get a large language model.
There are really two ingredients that make it large. First, the sheer amount of data. We're not talking about a few books. We're talking about a huge chunk of the internet, millions of books, scientific papers, just an insane amount of text. And second, it uses these incredibly complex systems called neural networks to process it all. That's the secret sauce that lets it go from guessing one word, like your phone, to writing a whole essay.
All right, so we get that they learn from data, but how does a computer even begin to understand words and sentences in the first place? What's the science behind that? That brings us to another key term, natural language processing, or NLP. This is the whole field of study. Think of it as the parent category. When you talk to Siri or Alexa, NLP is the tech that lets the device understand what you actually mean. It's all about bridging the gap between human language and computer code. So we've got a few acronyms flying around now, right? Generative AI, LLM, NLP. It can get a little confusing. Let's take a second to connect the dots and make it super clear how they all fit together.
Okay, NLP versus LLM. Here's the easiest way to think about it. NLP is the entire giant toolbox. It has all sorts of tools for understanding language. And LLM is like the newest, most powerful, state-of-the-art power tool inside that box. It's a specific technique within NLP that's laser-focused on generating new text.
And to put it all in a neat little package, generative AI is the big umbrella. It's any AI that creates stuff, images, music, whatever. And an LLM is the specialized tool under that umbrella that's all about creating text. Simple as that. Okay, enough theory. Let's talk about where you're actually using this stuff in your day-to-day life, because I guarantee it's in more places than you think. For starters, it's right there in your pocket. Your virtual assistant, Siri or Alexa, uses LLMs to understand you. ChatGPT, of course, is the prime example. And what about Google Translate? The reason it's gotten so good at understanding slang and context? Yep, that's an LLM working its magic. And then there's work and creativity. Need to draft a quick email? An LLM can do that. Need to summarize a super long document? No problem. It can even scan thousands of customer reviews and tell you if people are generally happy or angry. It's a huge time saver. And it doesn't stop there. Think about what you watch. When Netflix or YouTube gives you those scarily accurate recommendations, that's often an LLM at work. It's analyzing descriptions, genres, and even subtitles to figure out what you'll want to binge watch next. Okay, so we know what they are and what they can do. So let's talk about the big names, the famous models you've definitely seen popping up in the headlines.
And you have to see this timeline to believe how fast this has all happened. The whole game changed in 2017 with something called the transformer architecture. That was the big bang. Just a year later, OpenAI and Google dropped their first major models. And now, just a handful of years on, we have things like Gemini that get images and video, not just text. The speed is just wild.
So who are the major players? You've got OpenAI's GPT series. That's what powers ChatGPT. You've got Google, a huge force with models like BERT and their newest one, Gemini. And you've got Meta, Facebook, with their LLaMA models. These are basically the rock stars of the LLM world right now.
So there you have it. A large language model is really just a superpowered prediction engine, fed an unbelievable amount of data that's now a part of our everyday lives. And it really leaves you with a big question, right? Now that we all kind of understand the engine, what are we going to build with it next? That's where things get really interesting. Thanks for joining me.